So when I'm at home and I've got to make lunch, I generally don't like to spend a lot of time making lunch. So what that ends up usually becoming is me just making like a sandwich, like a cured meat and cheese sandwich, or even just like a grilled cheese or like a cheese melt. However, the past week I've made this 2 or 3 times already, and it's honestly pretty freaking delicious. And this isn't sort of like a new thing. A lot of people have done this before, but we're going to be making a gochujang pasta. And in my experience, this only really takes a few minutes, really as long as it takes for your pasta to boil. And so this can be done in like 10, maybe 15 minutes, and it's honestly really, really delicious. It's really not too many things, just some olive oil for the pan, some oat milk, but you can use regular milk as well. I'm just gonna try and keep this vegan, so I'm using oat milk. Some Italian seasoning, not a lot, just a tiny bit. This is just sort of ready-made stuff I bought from the shops. Of course, we've got gochujang. This is about 1 tablespoon's worth. Tomato puree, which is about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons worth. Got half an onion and a couple cloves of garlic. There's 2 garlic in there. And just some vegetable broth, which I've made from a bouillon cube. Originally, I did make this with chicken broth, but in an effort to sort of keep meat out of this or any meat products, I am gonna use vegetable broth instead for this. Before we even start cooking though, we're gonna have to cut up our onions, slices this way, and then just as small as you can. And honestly, even half an onion, so 1/4 of an onion, that's more than enough. Got our garlic, which I'm just gonna mince up, finely dice. One garlic clove is probably enough, but I like garlic, so I'm gonna add 2. And I'll just add that to the same bowl as the onions, because we can just fry these at the same time. That's all the cutting that we need to do, so we can get rid of this. I'm gonna use stainless steel pan, but if you have a non-stick, that actually works better. We'll heat this up, and then we'll add a little bit of olive oil, and then we'll fry up our onions and garlic first. These are gonna cook really fast, so you don't really wanna like take your eye off this. Just keep constantly mixing it about. The garlic is burning a lot faster, so I am gonna just move on and add the gochujang next. Give the gochujang a quick fry up as well. And then the tomato paste as well. Keep mixing, make sure everything gets distributed really nice and well. And it's already starting to smell pretty good, so I'm gonna add the vegetable broth now. And at this point, I'm going to move to using a whisk instead of this. I'll add the Italian seasoning as well. And no need to add salt to this because the gochujang has enough salt in it already. So at this point, I'm also going to add the oat milk. Just mix everything together. We'll give it a taste. For seasoning, that tastes pretty good already, so I'm actually just gonna take this off the heat now and set it aside because we're gonna boil our pasta now. Of course, the type of pasta that you use is entirely up to you. Personally, I'm gonna be using this type of pasta. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce that, but it's kind of like penne. They're like little tubes, and what I find with these sort of less chunky or smoother sauces is that the tubes pick up the sauce really nicely, so every bite you get, you're getting plenty of pasta and sauce. This is almost boiling now, so I'm just gonna add a big pinch of salt. Not too much salt though, because the gochujang has quite a bit of salt in it, so I don't really want the pasta to taste salty as well. I never know how much pasta to use, so I'm just gonna use about half this bag, and then I'll have leftovers, I guess, worst comes to worst. I'm going to cook this pasta just as you would normally until it's al dente. I'm not going to go completely soft because we're going to finish it off in the tomato gochujang sauce. And the trick to pasta not sticking together or sticking to the pan is just to mix it every so often. Just let it simmer, and then the classic wooden spoon on top trick. We're at al dente now, so before I strain this out, I'm going to collect some of the water. We're going to use that in our sauce there, and then strain this out. Add the pasta to the sauce. Just very low heat. Bit of pasta water. I'm just going to start mixing this together. We're going to cook this a little bit more just to finish off the pasta, but doing it this way will make sure the sauce actually gets in there. I went ahead and added more of the pasta water just because it was getting a little bit thick, and I still need to cook the pasta a little bit more. And that's why I want to reserve quite a bit of pasta water, because ultimately it's going to help finish off cooking the pasta. I'm pretty happy with how thick the sauce has become, so I'm going to turn the heat off and then we can start plating this. Before we plate, I've got a little bit of flat leaf parsley, which I love parsley, so I'm just gonna cut this up. Just real roughly chop it up. That's enough for me. And then we'll just go over top with our parsley. I do sometimes like to be a bit cheeky and go over this with some Parmesan as well, but in keeping with no animal products, I'm just gonna use parsley. But that right there is a delicious gochujang tomato pasta. Now if you're good at multitasking, you can bring this down to like 10-15 minutes while you cook the pasta, make the sauce. But because, you know, I'm filming this, and on top of that, just want to make this as easy as possible, so I did things separately. It did take a little bit longer. But in the end, what you're left with is just a creamy, rich, really not too spicy at all, not too salty, not too heavy, just delicious gochujang pasta. That's only like really honestly quite easy to make.